the Varn Dominion ship filled the metallic air. Sergeant Lyra Juno sat in her seat, watching the stars whiz by, her eyes reflecting the cold void of space. Half human, half Varn, she had always felt like an outsider. Even among the Varn, she was different. Not just in looks, her skin pale where theirs was dark, her hair a dull brown against their sleek silver strands, but in the way she thought, the way she felt. Her human half was a constant reminder of who she was, who she could never fully escape. Lyra glanced at the other members of her team. They were busy, preparing their equipment with a practiced ease. They were Varn, born of a race that viewed emotion as a weakness. But Lyra had inherited a deep sense of empathy from her human side. It made her different, more connected to the mission, more aware of its weight. This wasn't just about cataloging Earth's technology and looting its forgotten ruins. There was something more here, a mystery. And Lyra's instincts told her that something in the abandoned human outposts they were about to land on was far more important than the Varn realized. The mission was simple: retrieve and catalog. Earth's former military outposts had been abandoned for centuries, and yet something told Lyra this place, the moon Velos 3, held a deeper secret. Her heart raced as the ship descended toward the barren moon. The silence outside the ship was deafening. The cold, empty moon below felt like a tomb for a lost civilization. But Lyra wasn't so sure. She had a feeling, and it wouldn't let go. Velos 3 loomed beneath them, a desolate, lifeless orb. The surface was cracked and barren, covered in dust and the remnants of a forgotten age. Rusted structures rose out of the ground like ancient skeletal giants. Once a thriving military research station, the place was now nothing more than a graveyard of human ambition. Lyra stepped off the ship, her boots sinking slightly into the ash like dust. The wind howled in the distance, carrying with it the faint echoes of a time long past. The Varn team didn't seem to care, already spreading out and setting up their equipment. To them, this was just another mission, another dead world to claim. But to Lyra, it was a reminder of the Earth she'd never truly known, a place that had once been full of life and hope. As she moved past the skeletal remains of old research labs and crumbled outposts, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't alone. There was something here, something lingering in the air. Was it just the desolation of the place? Or was there something more? She paused near a cracked observation window, peering into the darkness beyond. Was that a shadow moving inside? She shook her head. It had to be her mind playing tricks on her. But deep down, she knew the truth. Earth's past had left a mark on this place, and it was a mark that wouldn't be easily erased. The Varn team's laughter echoed through the corridors of the old research station. They had found it, the massive mech buried deep beneath the surface of Velos 3. Project Guardian, the humans had called it. A hulking, rusted titan of a machine, designed to defend Earth in its final days of desperation. The Varn team was dismissive, their voices dripping with mockery as they circled the giant machine. "This is the great human defense?" one of the Varn scoffed, his voice echoing in the empty chamber. "A giant, clumsy relic, barely able to stand, let alone fight." Lyra stood off to the side, her eyes on the mech, not laughing with the others. She felt a strange kinship with it, a connection she couldn't explain. The Varn were right in some ways. The mech was primitive, its joints stiff and corroded from centuries of neglect, but it was more than that. It had been built with desperation, with ingenuity. Humans had poured everything they'd had into it, knowing they would lose. They had created it not to win, but to show that they had fought. The Varn didn't understand that. To them, it was just a joke. To Lyra, it was a testament to human resilience. But as she stared at the mech's worn, battle-scarred frame, a strange feeling crawled up her spine. It wasn't just a machine, it was something more. Lyra couldn't explain it. Every time she got near the mech, something deep inside her stirred. It wasn't just a cold metallic surface or the rust creeping over its joints. It felt alive. She had seen ancient, dormant machines before, but this was different. The mech's eyes, if they could be called that, seemed to follow her, watching her every movement. Its massive frame loomed over her like a silent sentinel, its presence a constant reminder of Earth's war. But it wasn't just a war machine. It felt like it had a soul. Lyra shook her head, brushing the feeling aside. The Varn team were already ignoring it, moving on to catalog the other tech scattered around the station. But Lyra couldn't tear herself away. Every time she looked at the mech, the sense of unease deepened. Was it her imagination, or was something watching her from within the rusting armor? It happened one night, while the rest of the Varn team was sleeping. Lyra was sitting alone in the control room scanning the monitors. The air was cold, the hum of the ship far away, and then, through the static, she heard it. Still here. Her breath caught in her throat. She froze, staring at the screen. Had she imagined it, or had the mech spoken? Lyra stood up, her heart pounding in her chest. She rushed to the mech's location, her feet echoing on the empty, cold floors. The voice had been faint, almost imperceptible, but it had been there. Something was happening to the mech, something it wasn't telling them. As she reached the mech, she placed her hand on its cold metal chest. For a brief, terrifying moment, the ground beneath her seemed to vibrate, and a deep, low hum filled the room. The mech was alive, or at least it was waking up. The Varn team dismissed Lyra's concerns with casual laughter. It's just an old machine, a relic of a lost race, they said, nothing more. But Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that they were wrong. The mech wasn't just an ancient weapon, it was something more. The Varn could laugh all they wanted, but Lyra felt the weight of history pressing down on her. There was something here, something the Varn weren't seeing. And it wasn't just about technology, it was about the strength of the human spirit. The tension between Lyra and the Varn grew. Her belief that the mech was more than just a machine, more than just a relic, put her at odds with her comrades. But she couldn't ignore it. She wouldn't. In the stillness of the moon, as the stars shimmered overhead, Lyra knew one thing for sure. The mech wasn't the joke, and it was about to show them all exactly why. Lyra crouched in the dimly lit hangar, her eyes scanning the old mech systems. The Galactic Dominion's engineers were too busy bickering over their latest triumphs, oblivious to the treasure lying before them. Lyra's fingers danced over the mech's terminal, bypassing security protocols with ease. No one suspected that she was more than just a tech analyst. She had always been curious, always willing to dig deeper than her superiors cared to. Her heart raced as the first layer of encryption cracked, revealing strange, outdated Earth military protocols still active in the mech system. She frowned, her mind worrying. The Varn had claimed this mech as a relic, something to be stripped for parts. Yet here it was, still running secret human commands that had no business being active after over a century. She input another command, hoping for a response. The screen flickered briefly, and a code file appeared, classified. There it was again. The mech's survival wasn't a mere glitch, it was a remnant of something much larger. Lyra's thoughts raced. The mech had been here for over 100 years, abandoned and forgotten, yet it still carried Earth's military legacy. Why was it still operational? Her fingers hovered over the terminal, the weight of the secret pressing down on her. If anyone found out she was looking into this, it could mean her career or her life. But the pull of the mystery was too great. Lyra had to know more. Something inside her told her that this was no ordinary piece of technology. With a quick breath, she bypassed another security lock, digging deeper into the code. She was getting closer. The mech was more than just a machine. It was a weapon, a piece of Earth's past that had never been fully explained. What had happened to the humans who had created it? And why did they leave it here, alone on this alien world? As the code continued to unfold, Lyra's stomach tightened. The answers were coming. She only hoped she could make sense of them before someone found out she was digging too deep. The Varn engineers were confident. Their laughter echoed in the hangar as they worked to disassemble the mech, believing it to be nothing more than a forgotten relic. Lyra stood at the back, her eyes darting nervously between the engineers and the large, hulking figure of the mech. "Look at this junk," one of the engineers scoffed, adjusting his helmet. "A piece of ancient human tech. It's practically falling apart." Another Varn soldier grabbed a wrench and jammed it into the mech's side. "Let's see what secrets it holds then." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She had a sinking feeling about this. Something wasn't right. The mech's arm twitched. At first it was subtle, a mere movement, an electrical pulse, a stray spark. But then the mech's torso shuddered. Its sensors blinked to life. The Varn engineers froze, unsure of what they were seeing. A hiss of air filled the room as the mech's hydraulic systems whined into life. "Impossible," one of the engineers muttered, stepping back. "This thing should be dead." But the mech wasn't dead. It was waking up. Slowly, deliberately, it seemed to acknowledge its surroundings, its movements jerky but purposeful. The Varn soldiers hesitated, their earlier bravado replaced by confusion. Lyra's heart hammered in her chest. She had suspected this was more than just a broken machine, but now standing in the presence of the mech's growing power, she realized how much danger they were in. This wasn't a relic, it was a sleeper, and the Varn were making a grave mistake by underestimating it. The mech's left arm twitched again, this time with a sharper motion. The Varn soldier closest to it flinched back. "Shut it down!" one of the engineers yelled, but it was too late. The mech's eyes, glowing with an eerie mechanical blue, flashed to life. It seemed to recognize the threat before it, locking onto the Varn soldiers with terrifying precision. The Varn soldier's scream echoed in the hangar. The mech's arm shot out like lightning, a burst of energy flashing from its hand. The soldier who had been nearest was vaporized in an instant, his body disintegrating into nothing. The blast sent shockwaves through the hangar, sending several Varn soldiers tumbling to the ground. The remaining engineers scrambled backwards, their faces pale with fear. The mech's energy core hummed with unnatural power. It was clear now. The mech wasn't some abandoned weapon. It was alive, and it was dangerous. "Retreat, now!" one of the Varn officers shouted, his voice cracking with panic. The soldiers scattered, retreating to the far corners of the hangar, but the mech remained motionless, its power still humming as if awaiting its next command. The room was thick with tension, as if the very air held its breath. Lyra watched in stunned silence, her mind racing. She had known the mech wasn't dead, but she hadn't expected it to be this powerful. The energy burst was calculated, precise. It wasn't an accident, it was deliberate. She took a cautious step forward, her fingers still tingling from the discovery she had made earlier. The mech was far more than just an ancient relic. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, and the Varn had foolishly underestimated it. The engineers were already assessing the situation, but their earlier arrogance had evaporated. They were scared now. Hours later, Lyra sat in the debriefing room, listening as the Varn command dismissed the incident. Commander Tall, her superior, shook his head dismissively as he flicked through the reports. A glitch in the system, nothing more. The mech was just malfunctioning. Lyra opened her mouth to argue, but stopped herself. She knew better than to challenge her superior openly, but the anger simmered inside her. A glitch? That was no glitch. The mech killed one of your own men. "It's an old piece of tech," Tall said, shrugging off her concern. "Human technology. Their military was known for making unreliable machines." Lyra's eyes narrowed. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But it's not just the machine, it's—" "Enough, Lyra," Tall cut her off, his tone sharp. "The Varn Dominion has seen much more sophisticated weaponry than this. Do not let your fascination with this relic cloud your judgment." The dismissal was final. Lyra stood silent, her heart heavy with the weight of her knowledge. She had seen the mech's potential firsthand, but no one else seemed to understand the magnitude of what had happened. As she left the room, her mind buzzed with questions. What were the Varn missing? Why couldn't they see the danger? She knew one thing for sure. She couldn't let this go. The mech held secrets, secrets that were too important to ignore. Lyra returned to the hangar late that night, determined to find more answers. She bypassed the security systems with ease, her fingers moving quickly over the terminal. She'd been digging for hours, looking for anything that might explain the mech's strange behavior. Her eyes whitened as a new file appeared on the screen, one that had been buried deep within the mech's ancient coding. The title read, Sentient Adjacent Protocols. Lyra's pulse quickened. This was it. The file detailed an advanced program that had been running on the mech for decades, perhaps even longer. The data referred to the mech's pilot, but the details were strangely vague. The pilot had been a human, a soldier, a captain, who had died decades ago. But the mech systems had continued running in his absence. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. The term sentient adjacent was unlike anything she had ever seen in Varn or human tech. It implied a connection between the mech and its pilot, something more than just mechanical programming. The implications were enormous. Could this be the key to understanding the mech's actions? And what if the consciousness of the human pilot, Captain Rourke, was somehow embedded in the machine? Lyra's mind raced. The questions flooded in. But one thing was clear. She was no longer just studying the mech. She was starting to unravel a mystery that could change everything. Lyra sat in the dimly lit control room of the war-torn ship, her fingers trembling over the console. She glanced over her shoulder, ensuring no one was watching. The Varn Dominion soldiers had no idea she was here, at this ruined outpost, tinkering with the ancient human mech. The massive, lifeless form of the armor lay before her, dormant, but full of untapped potential. She could feel the weight of her decision, the dangerous secret she carried. The Varn believed the mech was just a piece of obsolete technology, but Lyra knew better. There was something in the way the armor systems hummed softly, almost as if waiting for her touch. Her thoughts conflicted. She had sworn loyalty to the Varn, but the stories of Earth's lost wars and their brave soldiers had always fascinated her. This was her chance to understand their history, to truly experience what had been lost. Her hands moved involuntarily. She reactivated a key system, the console flickering to life. A soft mechanical groan echoed as the armor's chest plate slowly shifted. The internal wiring sparked to life, the faint pulse of the power core thrumming beneath her fingertips. Lyra's heart raced. She wasn't just repairing the mech, she was awakening it, bringing it back to life. And with it, a question loomed large in her mind. Would this decision save her or doom her? The room was silent except for the quiet hum of the power core. Lyra stepped back, watching in awe as the mech's head shifted slightly, its sensors coming online. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint voice echoed from the speakers, broken and crackling. Who is this? Lyra froze. The voice was human, and yet it was not. The mech had spoken. She quickly checked the systems, her heart pounding in her chest. The diagnostic screen confirmed what she feared. The armor wasn't just alive, it was learning. It was remembering. Another voice came, this one clearer, though tinged with pain. Why am I here? Why can't I move? Lyra swallowed hard, her mind racing. She hadn't just reactivated a machine. This armor carried something far more valuable. Memories, thoughts, even feelings. She couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was no ordinary mech. Could this be Captain Rourke? The legend of Earth's greatest soldier? Could he have been integrated into the armor after his final battle? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Answer me, the voice whispered, with a sense of desperation. What happened? It was alive. No, it was more than alive. Lyra's heart beat faster as the realization set in. She wasn't just dealing with technology. She was dealing with a consciousness, trapped, confused, and in pain. The armor was a living, breathing entity.
Far above Lyra's hidden location, the Varn Dominion's command center buzzed with activity. The Varn High Command had just received alarming intelligence. The human mech, what they had dismissed as a relic, was no longer dormant. The reports were clear. The armor had come back to life, and it was showing signs of being far more than a weapon. "We cannot allow this," General Kaur said, his sharp reptilian eyes narrowing as he read the intel. "Prepare the fleet. We will either salvage this weapon for our use or destroy it. This is the one thing that could turn the tide of war." A fleet of Varn destroyers was dispatched immediately, their engines roaring to life in a show of terrifying power. The Varn had underestimated the ingenuity of humanity. What they had thought to be primitive technology was now a threat, a living weapon with the potential to break the balance of power. Lyra's eyes darted to the screen as she watched the first reports of the Varn's fleet movements. They were coming. They were coming for the armor, and for her. Lyra's hands shook as she listened to the voice echo from the mech once more. Lyra, I remember. The voice, broken but undeniably human, carried a weight of sorrow. Lyra crouched down, her face close to the cold surface of the armor. The lights flickered as the mech's voice grew stronger. I am Rourke. I was human before this, before the transformation. They uploaded me. They did it to save me, but now I am trapped. I cannot feel, I cannot move. I'm just here, in this suit of metal. Her breath caught at her throat. Captain Rourke's consciousness, his mind, his memories, had been uploaded into the mech. This was no ordinary machine. This was a human soul, merged with technology. Rourke's voice wavered again. Why did they do this to me? Why did I have to live like this? Lyra didn't have an answer. The horror of what she was hearing, what Rourke had experienced, was unfathomable. But it also gave her insight into the mech. It wasn't a soulless machine. It was a man trapped in a nightmare of metal and wires. She had to help him. She had to free him. Rourke's voice, now more stable, filled the room with an eerie calm. Lyra, you're half them. You've allied yourself with the Varn. How can I trust you? Lyra winced. The words stung, but she knew they were true. Her heritage, her ties to the Varn, had always made her an outsider. Even now, her actions felt like betrayal to some. I'm not like them, she said quietly, trying to convince herself more than the mech. But there was no answer, just silence. Then, after a long pause, Rourke spoke again. Prove it.
Lyra stood outside the camp, the Varn patrols moving closer, their weapons drawn. She saw one of the local scavengers, an innocent man, being led to the execution post. Without thinking, she rushed forward, her pulse racing. She knew what would happen next. She knew the Varn would kill the man. But she couldn't stand by. With one swift motion, she lunged at the Varn officer, knocking him to the ground, disarming him with a quick spin of her hand. She turned, her gaze locking with the executioner. Let him go, she demanded, her voice steady, even as the situation spiraled. The Varn officer hesitated, his eyes narrowing. The standoff was tense, death in the air. Lyra's hand hovered near the blade at her side. She had put everything on the line for a scavenger, for someone she didn't know. But in that moment, she knew it was the only way to prove her loyalty to the mech and to herself. The officer finally lowered his weapon, his expression dark. This is your last chance, human, he growled, stepping away. Lyra breathed a sigh of relief as the scavenger scrambled to safety. She had earned Rourke's trust. With the Varn's forces closing in, Lyra made her way back to the mech, her heart pounding. This is it, she whispered to herself. The ground trembled as the armor's legs began to move, powered by Lyra's last-ditch effort to reawaken its full potential. The mech arose, towering above her. Its visor glowed bright red, and its massive hands clenched into fists. It was no longer just a machine, it was a weapon, a protector. Just as a Varn drone strike began to fall from the sky, the armor stepped forward, shielding Lyra with its massive form. The explosion was deafening, but the armor stood unmoving, its shields holding firm. Lyra stood, breathless, as the mech systems hummed to life. It was now fully awake. Back in the heart of the Varn Dominion, the news of the mech's return spread like wildfire. The human weapon lives! The broadcast boomed across the galaxy. The once dismissed technology was now a fearsome threat, and the Varn knew it could change the war in an instant. Lyra looked up at the mech, its imposing form standing proudly before her. The power had shifted. Humanity's creation was no longer a relic. It was a force that could shake the foundation of empires. And Lyra? She had just become part of that legacy. The Varn Dominion had been relentless in their pursuit of Earth's last hope, the advanced combat armor hidden deep within the Velos 3 facility. Their spies had infiltrated the most secure communications channels, and the time for diplomacy had long passed. A single message had arrived on the Varn flagship: neutralize it or we all burn. On the bridge of the Dominion's flagship, Grand Admiral Ozark's eyes burned with cold resolve as he watched the planetscape of Velos 3 flash on the display. Below the surface, Earth's last hope was close to full operation, the fusion-powered armor that could turn the tide of war, an unholy hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology. "We cannot let them complete the armor," Ozark growled, turning to his most trusted officers. "Launch the assault. Make it swift, make it overwhelming." The swarm of Varn warships descended on Velos 3 with a terrifying precision, their sleek black hulls cutting through the void like shadows. Their goal was clear: the armor. If it became fully operational, Earth would stand a fighting chance against the Dominion's superior forces, and that the Varn could not allow. The battle was quick and merciless. Lasers fired, massive torpedoes ripped into the facility's outer defenses, and explosions rocked the surface. The first wave hit hard, followed by the relentless bombardment of Varn mechs, smashing through everything in their path. On the ground, chaos reigned. Human forces scrambled to mount a defense, but it was clear the Dominion was not here for a negotiation. They were here for one thing only: to ensure Earth's final weapon never saw the light of day. The armor's only hope now rested on the fragile hands of Lyra and the decision she would soon face. Lyra stood in the war room, her heart racing as the echo of explosions rocked the walls. The Varn's assault had come faster than anyone anticipated, and Earth's hopes now rested on the delicate fusion of human and mech. Yet as the countdown ticked away to the armor's activation, Lyra couldn't help but feel the crushing weight of her bloodline. Born of the Varn, yet raised as Earth's ally, she was caught between two worlds. Her heritage demanded loyalty to the Dominion, but her heart had been given to Earth, to Rourke, the human commander whose passion for victory and love for his people had inspired her in ways she could not explain. Lyra's eyes flicked to the screen where Rourke's face appeared, his features tight with urgency. "Lyra, you have to decide. We can't hold much longer. You know what's at stake." The words hit her like a thunderclap. In that moment, Lyra faced a choice: betray her lineage and side with Earth, or uphold her bloodline and risk the annihilation of all she had come to love. Her hand hovered over the activation switch, trembling with indecision. If she joined Rourke, she'd become something more, part of the armor, part of the machine. But if she sided with the Dominion, she would betray the very people who had taught her to fight, to hope. But one thought cut through the confusion. What would I be without Rourke, without Earth? Her choice became clear. "I'm in," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling with resolve. Her decision reverberated through the war room. She was no longer an outsider, no longer a weapon of the Varn. She was part of something greater now, something human. The armor's interface pulsed with energy as Lyra slid into the cockpit. As the systems began to synchronize, she could feel the cold, metallic touch of the mech's consciousness merging with her own. It wasn't just a machine, it was something alive, something that resonated with her in ways she couldn't understand. "Ready, Commander," Lyra's voice echoed through the comms, now a part of Rourke's tactical network. The moment she uttered those words, the entire armor hummed to life. Rourke's hands gripped the control panels, a new awareness dawning within him. Together, they were a force unlike any the Varn had ever faced, a human mind fused with the power of a mech. They became something more than soldiers, more than allies. They became a symbol of humanity's strength, a blend of the mind, body, and machine. "Let's show them what we can do," Rourke said with a grin, his voice carrying through the hybrid interface. The mech leapt into action, a fluid combination of human strategy and mechanical precision as Lyra guided the armor with surgical accuracy. Their movements were seamless, as if the two had always been one. The battlefield was a blur of fire, dust, and explosions as the Varn forces closed in. But as Lyra's mind melded fully with the mech's AI, something incredible happened. Rourke, the human soul within the armor, began to stir. "Lyra," he said, his voice breaking through the chaos, I'm awake, really awake." The mech's movements grew more fluid, more unpredictable. Rourke's personality, long buried beneath layers of programming, resurfaced with renewed strength. His instincts, honed by years of battle, began to blend with the machine's precision. They fought together as a single entity, a combination of man and machine that could never be replicated. Rourke's hands flew across the console, his mind racing with tactics and strategies. Each move was a calculated step in the dance of destruction. The Varn, for all their might, were no match for the hybrid force they now faced. The mech tore through enemy lines with terrifying speed. It wasn't just raw power, they fought with grace, pinpointing weak points, striking with precision. Every strike, every blow, was a testament to humanity's brilliance.
As the battle raged, Rourke felt something stirring deep inside him, a profound sense of clarity. His memories, his humanity, came flooding back. I'm not just a machine," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm human." For a fleeting moment, Rourke was no longer just a pilot. He was a man, one who had lived, loved, and fought for Earth. His final stand, however, would be one of sacrifice. He knew the end was near. With a defiant smile, he spoke his final words, his voice filled with conviction. "Then let's remind them why they feared us." And with that, the final assault began. The battlefield was a grim reflection of chaos, but the mech, now fully awake, fought with an elegant, terrifying precision. Every shot was calculated, every strike executed with unerring accuracy. The Varn were strong, but Rourke and Lyra, together as one, were something beyond their understanding. The mech did not destroy without purpose. It did not waste a single movement. With each passing moment, the Varn forces dwindled, their mechs and ships falling to the ground in a cascade of destruction. The armor's efficiency was staggering. No energy was wasted. Each blow was a pinpoint strike at the heart of the enemy, calculated to disable rather than annihilate. Lyra's mind was a perfect match for the mech's AI, guiding Rourke's every move as if they shared a single heartbeat. They became an unstoppable force, a surgical instrument in the hands of human ingenuity. And with each passing minute, the Varn forces began to realize that Earth's final weapon was more than just a machine. It was a symbol of humanity's survival. The Varn flagship descended through the atmosphere, its guns targeting the surface. Lyra watched the destruction unfold before her eyes, knowing that there was only one chance left to stop them. The final defense protocol sat in her hands, the decision weighing heavily on her heart. If she activated it, it would destroy the flagship and her. Her mind raced. Was it worth it? Was Earth's survival worth her life? "I won't let them take our future," she whispered, her voice barely audible. With a final glance at Rourke, Lyra activated the protocol. The skies erupted in fire as the final defense protocol took effect. The Varn flagship exploded in a ball of flame, and the remaining forces scattered, retreating in chaos. Earth had won, at a terrible cost. The armor powered down, its systems going dormant once more. But the victory was not without its price. Lyra had given everything, her life, her loyalty, and her future. The armor, now silent, stood as a silent monument to her sacrifice. Earth had survived, but the war was far from over. The world is silent. The vast expanse of Velos 3 stretches before Lyra, scorched and fractured where the armor once stood. She blinks into the dust-choked air, her breath ragged as she slowly pushes herself upright. The crater, a scar of war, remains as it was, dark, deep, and haunting. The remnants of the battle, the twisted wrecks of Varn ships, and the remains of fallen foes litter the battlefield. But it's eerily quiet now. No explosions, no gunfire,
only the distant hum of something still alive within the ruins. Lyra stands in the epicenter of destruction. Her fingers scrape across the jagged earth, her mind racing to understand the disorienting stillness around her. She had fought, bled, and nearly died within the heart of the armor, but this is something different. Something has shifted. Her body is alive, but her soul feels heavier. She takes a step forward. The weight of the world presses down on her chest, but the armor, the system that once held Rourke's consciousness, is gone. She's alone. Or so she thinks. Her head throbs as flashes of images cascade through her thoughts. Rourke's voice, his laughter, his anger, they fade before she can fully grasp them, leaving only the hollow ache of their absence. The realization strikes her. She's not alone, not entirely. Lyra's footsteps slow as she stumbles over the jagged rocks. The echo inside her mind grows louder. It's not Rourke's full presence, but a shadow of him. Something between human and machine, a residual connection forever linking them. She can feel it. The pattern in her thoughts, the way her actions are now guided by something more than her own impulses. Why am I not alone, she wonders, pushing through the haze of confusion. The pain in her head sharpens, as if the connection is struggling to stabilize. It's not just her mind anymore. There's another presence, something that feels both familiar and foreign. Rourke's imprint is there, an echo of the man who had been merged with the machine. His thoughts stir within her, guiding her, urging her to move, to survive. Every decision, every action now feels like it's split between her will and his. She tries to shake it off, to reclaim her own mind, but she can't deny the unsettling truth. She has become something else. Her humanity is now intertwined with the machine's mind, and she must learn to navigate both. Lyra. His voice slips into her mind like a whisper, his tone as clear as it was in the heat of battle. You're still here, aren't you? Her breath catches in her throat. She wants to scream, to reject him, but his presence lingers, undeniable. In that moment, Lyra realizes that Rourke is not gone. He lives within her, not as a separate entity, but as something more profound, a part of her. Somewhere far away, in the silent depths of space, the dormant systems of Earth hum to life. It starts as a flicker, just a brief spike in the cosmic frequency, but it's enough. A signal pulses across the stars, a beacon cutting through the vastness of the galaxy. Guardian active, human soul confirmed. Lyra freezes, her pulse quickening as the words reverberate through the air. A transmission, the first in a century. Her heart races as she realizes the implication. Earth knows she's alive. Earth knows the armor. No, she is still out there. Tears fill her eyes, a mix of relief and dread. The armor had been meant as humanity's final weapon, and now it is their call to arms. Earth had long been forgotten, lost to the galaxy's vast expanse. But now they know. Lyra and the legacy of humanity still exist. It's a message, a lifeline thrown across the void. But is it hope, or a harbinger of a new war? As Lyra stands in the crater, the universe stirs. Across distant planets, hidden Earth technology begins to resonate. Forgotten caches of old weapons, hidden devices, relics of humanity's forgotten golden age now flicker to life. On distant moons, abandoned outposts hum once more. In the bowels of ancient space stations, dormant AIs, human-made, flicker with purpose. On far-off planets where humanity once tread, systems long buried in the sands of time awaken in response to the signal. Pieces of Earth's lost legacy stir, stretching across the stars, drawn to the hum of life, of something once thought lost. Lyra feels it. She knows it. Earth's legacy is vast. This signal is a rallying cry, and it will be heard. The galaxy has no idea what is coming. On the bridge of the Varn flagship, high above Belos 3, the leaders of the Dominion gather. Their once overconfident laughter has now turned to hushed whispers. The transmission had not been expected. If one armor survived, how many others remain? How many more did they hide away? The fear is palpable. The once unfathomable idea of humanity's resilience now hangs over them like a shadow. Their complacency, their certainty that Earth had been annihilated shatters. If Lyra survived, there is a possibility, no, a probability that Earth's weapons are not gone. The Varn do not fear a single armor. They fear the echo of humanity's return. Their dominance is threatened by the prospect of an enemy long thought to be vanquished. They cannot ignore the signal. The galaxy cannot ignore what is coming. The conversation grows heated, filled with fear and paranoia. The Varn are no longer certain of their control. The scales of power are beginning to shift once more.
This is the beginning of a profound journey, where humanity's strength is not just in its weapons, but in its resilience and the mysterious power of a shared consciousness. The unknown is rising once more, and the galaxy is about to learn the true cost of underestimating humanity. The harsh winds of Valos 3 whip across the barren landscape, the planet's desolate surface stretching endlessly under the dim light of the distant star. Lyra walks slowly, her boots crunching against the cracked earth. She's alone, save for the silent presence of the armor beside her, its cold metallic surface gleaming faintly in the twilight. Lyra stops, her gaze sweeping across the horizon. The battle that once raged here seems so distant now, like a forgotten dream. She can still feel the weight of the armor's power, a constant companion since the fateful moment it first activated. But something in her has changed. The battle might be over, but the war inside her mind has just begun. Lyra's mind is a storm of conflicting thoughts. She is no longer the person who once thought for survival, who sought to protect Earth. The lines between human and machine are blurred now. The armor is an extension of her, its memories and power woven into the fabric of her being. A soft echo reverberates through her consciousness. Rourke's voice, a lingering whisper of the past. She doesn't know if it's her own mind or something more, but it's there, always. A reminder that her transformation is far from over. She takes another step forward, resolute, yet uncertain. She is both the past and the future, the bridge between humanity and something greater. Lyra stands before a jagged rock formation, staring at her reflection in a pool of stagnant water. The face staring back at her is hers, but not entirely. Her eyes, once a soft shade of brown, now gleam with an unnatural intensity, a flicker of something else, something that isn't entirely human. She's not human anymore, not completely, not fully. Her mind pulses with the patterns of Rourke, the soldier who once piloted the armor. It's a strange feeling, like having a ghost inside her, someone she never met but whose presence she can't shake. It's more than just a voice, it's his thoughts, his instincts, flowing through her like a current of electricity. Lyra reaches up to touch her cheek, tracing the scar that marks the journey of her transformation. The fusion of human and alien, the merging of consciousness with the machine, is a weight she cannot escape. She isn't fully Earth. She isn't fully alien. She is something new, something terrifying. And yet, she wonders if this new identity could be the key to survival, not just for her, but for all of humanity.
As the sun sets behind the jagged peaks of Valos 3's mountains, a small group of children gathers at the edge of the outpost. They are quiet, their eyes wide with wonder as they stare up at the sky. Lyra watches them from a distance, feeling the weight of their gaze. To them, she is not just a soldier or a survivor. She is something more, a symbol of Earth's return. The armor, once a tool of war, has become a beacon of hope, a living legend passed down from the stories of their parents. They look at her like she is a hero. She isn't sure if she deserves her reverence, but she doesn't have the heart to deny it. As they watch the stars,
She wonders what they dream of. A future of peace, perhaps? Or a future of war, where humanity will fight to reclaim what was once lost? Lyra smiles faintly, her heart heavy with both pride and sorrow. They see her as the future, but she knows, deep down, that the true battle is not in the stars. It is within her. The wind picks up, howling through the empty expanse, carrying with it the distant, haunting echo of Rourke's voice. If they mock Earth again, remind them we were never alone in our armor. Lyra stands tall, the wind tugging at her hair. His words, once a rallying cry, now feel like a burden she must carry. They're a reminder of everything that Earth has lost, and everything that is yet to come. His memory is with her, always. But it is more than just memory. It is a living part of her, his will interwoven with her own. She can feel his defiance, his unshakable belief that Earth's strength was never in its weapons, but in its people. She is his legacy now. The thought both strengthens and saddens her. Rourke's spirit may live on through her, but the man himself is gone. In his absence, she has inherited his mission: to remind the galaxy that Earth was never truly defeated. Night falls, and the stars twinkle above, distant and cold. Lyra looks out across the barren plains, her mind heavy with thoughts of what lies ahead. But as she stands there, something catches her eye. A flicker of light in the distance. Her heart races as she turns, staring into the darkness. The blue glow of another armor suit shines faintly through the night, its eyes glowing like the stars themselves. And then another, and another. The giants are stirring. In the far distance, more suits of armor begin to activate, their eerie blue light cutting through the darkness. The message is clear. Earth's legacy is not over. It is only just beginning. Lyra takes a deep breath, her pulse quickening. This is only the beginning. The galaxy may have thought Earth was dead, that humanity was nothing more than a forgotten memory. But the giants are waking, and they will make their presence known. The camera pans out, revealing countless outposts across the galaxy, each one with its own armor suit stirring to life. The future of humanity is no longer in question. The time of Earth's return has come, and with it, the galaxy will never be the same again.